I built my business trying to serve that market. And part of that is moving smaller things in terms of a moving situation. So like a big scale mover doesn't want to move a couch, just a couch. They'll move a living room, they'll move a house, right? And so, but that's still a giant need. So when people buy and sell on Facebook and they need to get a couch, they might have a truck. They might have someone who will come and show up and help them, but there is no urgency. There's no efficiency behind it.
Welcome to Vision Studios. This is your host, Luis Robles, and my co-host.
Yeah, I'm Peter South. Luis, it's great to be here with our guest today. I'm really excited to talk about our guest. He's a friend of ours. His name is Ryan, and he owns a company called Buy to Buy, and he owns this really neat company where it's like this micro niche. He was like, I found a niche. And that's really one of the cool things about being a business owner, right? Yep. Is you find a niche, you find a need. And he found this really cool niche where he does the jobs, the moving jobs that are too small for most people, right? Yeah. And you do the things that people don't want to do. And he's a really just energetic business owner. He has a podcast on the side called Sober Swole. Ryan, welcome to our podcast.
Appreciate it. Thank you,
welcome,
guys.
Brian. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for the invite.
So, Ryan, we met you through a group of our networking, and you are just one of the most energetic, well-spoken business owners that we've met. We love getting to see you every week. You own this moving business. Just tell us a little bit about what is the micro niche that you've sort of created.
So, Buy to Buy was formed as a response to the secondhand market, buying and selling on Facebook, OfferUp, Let Go. My eBay login is still my AOL account. So like I've been buying and selling for 2 decades, right? So like buying online has always had its pain points, but it's very unique once you hit the ground running, once it's local. And so there's not ever really been a solution that makes it safe, that prioritizes the actual customers as opposed to it just being a transaction. Because that's all it is, right? You're meeting to exchange money for an item and then you part ways. However, there's a spectrum of it goes really good and great, and then people wind up in a tragic situation for no reason, right? So I built my business trying to serve that market. And part of that is moving smaller things in terms of a moving situation. So like a big scale mover doesn't want to move a couch, just a couch. They'll move a living room, they'll move a house, right? And so, but that's still a giant need. So when people buy and sell on Facebook and they need to get a couch, they might have a truck. They might have someone who will come and show up and help them, but there is no urgency. There's no efficiency behind it. Our value is in the efficiency in being able to do it in an expeditious form and doing it fast, friendly, and on demand.
I could definitely attest to that, Luis, that Ryan is fast and friendly. He's moved some of our properties and it's good, so great, and appreciate it without a doubt.
And it sounds like you found this niche on Facebook. Is that what you were saying?
So it was through eBay, right? So like the 40-year-old version, right? That movie, the love interest in the story, she runs this shop and she just like people buy and sell stuff and they can bring it to her and then they can, and so she acts as a medium for that. Okay. It stems out of that. And a lot of people, when I first started it, they were like, oh, this is like 40-year-old virgin. I'm like, no, it's not. but it is a cultural thing that people can attach to, so it has the familiarity. So people get it, but they just don't understand the urgency or the need for it until they have an 8-foot-long sofa and the dimensions between the storage unit that you need to store it in is only 5 feet. So there's some geometry involved to get it to go in there right. Most people can get it done, but if you have any ailments, if you have any situation that prevents you from doing it, it becomes a burden and it becomes a big deal. And it becomes a big deal in a short span of time, raises anxiety, depression, all these other things that make a situation way worse than it need to be. We come in, we take it, make it a worry-free situation.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so what struck me interesting when you started was you still have an AOL. So I didn't know you could have an AOL email address.
Wait, quick question. What's AOL? I guess I'm too young for that.
Luis, you've got mail.
So before you could get the internet everywhere, you had to have a phone line, and then you had to have a device that decoded that phone line and then allowed you to get onto the internet.
Oh, wow.
AOL was the first big company to ever do that. Okay. And so, yeah, you're too young to know what that means.
I'm barely 28. But I don't know.
So like instant messaging, all that stuff is born out of
AOL.
AOL. Yep.
Oh, wow.
So I remember back, when the internet started, eBay was
Humongous.
I mean, really, it was the number one website in the planet.
Yeah.
And that's how you started doing just like an eBay kind of marketplace?
Like I've always
your
just
genesis?
I don't come from money, so I've always had to find a way to be able to get the things I want at a better cost. You were talking about the piece of gear that you got. You got it. I got it for less than what there's a level of excitement of being able to get that thing that helps you do the thing you want to do at a lesser cost. That's eBay in a nutshell, right? So I got very familiar with that because I wanted to do things, and I knew that if I had higher value items, electronics. I've been into audio for most of my life, so it's like I had something to exchange or to sell to get what I wanted, and eBay was the medium that gave me the best way to do that.
How old were you when you started this?
When I started Buy to Buy, I started this in 2019, but I've been buying and selling since I was like a teenager.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you always like the resale market.
Yep, I've always understood it, and it's always made sense. And people, there are people who rent storage spaces and they flip furniture or they flip, auction sites or,
That's what I've seen on YouTube.
Amazon pallets. It's turned into all these different things now. Storage wars, that's a thing, right? And so like commerce.
I love that show.
Yeah.
It's a fun show. Yeah.
Are you in that show?
Bro, I could be on Storage Wars, of course. But like the idea that buying and selling only happens at a store, that's ridiculous. So much happens in these unique niche areas to where they need service in some fashion. So like auction houses is perfect. You go to an auction house, you find a big item, you can't get it home. But they have, not only do you need to get it home, but they have a time frame that you need to get it off their property or they'll start charging you, right? So there's urgency built into their business model. So like to get it off the lot and get it home, I helped pick up a golf cart a couple weeks ago. Like it's easy. But if you've only got a truck, getting a golf cart into the back of a truck bed that'll fit, that's not fun, man. So I've got a nice big trailer, easy ramp goes right up on that. It's a car hauler, done in an hour.
Yeah, because I've seen it on your social media how big the truck is, and I'm like, wow, he must have invested a lot of money on that truck.
I got I started everything for like 10 grand.
Okay.
Outside of, so the van and the trailer, right? And so this is pre-pandemic pricing, obviously. So everything has gone way up since then. So my trailer is worth more than what I bought it for sure. But like the idea was simply to have enough space so that way I could casually move things in and out. Because throwing stuff on a truck bed, I had a smaller trailer. I have a utility trailer that's a 6 by 12 foot. I moved a $10,000 sofa set on that thing from Chandler to Maricopa.
Oh man, that seems like a long
with a tarp, strapped down, just making it work, bootstrapping it, right? And so it's just making, and so shortly after that, that move or that delivery, the company that I was working with, they go, okay, you for sure got to get an enclosed trailer because we have to have some kind of, protection for our stuff. And it was wrapped up. It was blankets. It was strapped down. But, you see people move stuff by themselves outside, and it doesn't look like stuff is getting there.
It reminds me of the movie Cars. I don't know if you remember that, when there's like this little van. It has like the couch, or it was a bed it has on the top, and it just freaking going on the side like that. That's why you make me. What you were saying is like people just strap things down in the car and then just move it however they can. Because I've done it myself. Yeah. And now I don't want to do it myself anymore.
That's the thing.
Take the risk.
You do it so many times and you're like, I would rather not.
Yeah.
I would rather have someone else do that. And I call it rather not-onomics. So people would rather not do something, and so they hire someone else, and that's what the gig economy is.
Well, that should be your book, Rather Not.
There you go. I'll write that down.
I think that would be
this is the trade book. This is copywriting right now. Rather
right now.
It's
I think it would be great. So before this business, what were you doing before? Did you have like a vocation prior to this, or you were always just sort of like a hustle guy?
I'm a hustle guy. So I've had a job since I was 11. I started with a paper route in middle school, in the Midwest.
Old school.
Biking through the snow in the winters and through the rain and the heat in the summer. But like I had a paper route when I was 11, making $150 a week. Thought it was a good deal.
Pretty good.
Yeah, in 94?
In the 1900s, it was good. Yeah, $150 a week, you were rich.
I love how we had to say that now. In the 1900s.
I was like, I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, man, I had that. Did fast food when I was younger. When I was in high school, my parents, we didn't come from much, and they were working all the time, providing for us. So we never needed anything, but we always wanted the stuff that you want as kids, right? So I wanted the independence of a vehicle, so to get a job. So I worked at McDonald's, I worked at Burger King, did that stuff, and made sure that I was able to get the little bit of independence that I could at the time. And so just carried that over into my love for music, which my dad has been in music most of my life. He started out as a bouncer just because he's athletic at a club. They said they needed a DJ. He's like, I could do that. And then he started his 35-year-long DJ career from that point. And so from that point, while I was growing up, he was a popular radio DJ back home. And so everybody knew him. So when I was a teenager in high school, people were risky. They were out doing stuff that could get them in trouble, right? If I got in trouble, my dad knew all of the police because of the clubs and because of the radio. So if I got in trouble, he was the first phone call. So like,
you were never going to the club,
I was never trying to, no fake ID, no nothing from me. So I got introduced, and I got to play with all of his old equipment and stuff. So long story short, I became a DJ in high school, going into college, because we'd have all these parties, everybody standing around. Okay. Let's get this moving. And so I just took that in and started doing parties and was on the college scene, then did the popular college bar. And I left all of that when I got married and moved out here. And then when I came out here, I was working for Rent-A-Center at the time as like a steady job, right? DJing 3 nights a week, making 3 times as much as I was, but saving for moving and doing all this stuff. So I left a really good situation, but it plateaus in the Midwest because you can only do so much and go so far. Okay. And like technology, the way that it comes in, it still hits everybody late there. It's like trend-wise, it's always slow. I like to be on the forefront of technology and things. So I always wanted to pursue audio, and so I took a trip out to Full Sail, which is in Orlando, Florida. And that's where they make all the Pixar movies, and the kids learn, and they develop the next generation of CGI artists. And so I went there, $50K a year. Oh, I can't do that. Bad. Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences in Gilbert, $18,000 for the exact same education. So we moved to Mesa, Arizona in 2008. And so 2.5 years worked for Rent-A-Center. She worked at the hotel, hospitality. We kind of did our thing. And then I was like, let's buy a house. And so we stopped going out, stopped doing all the fun things, and saved money for 6 months, bought our first house.
Quick question. When did you buy this house? What year was that?
2008.
Oh, man.
2010, I think, is 10. So we were right.
Yeah, that's the best year to
on
buy
the
a house.
precipice. Like, it was just now coming back up. And so not just was it a good time, but the house that we found was in pre-foreclosure. So it was already agreed upon, less than what it was owed. And then there was a couple that had the house under contract. They split up. And so the house was all of a sudden on the market the day we started looking at houses. Wow. So we looked at 25 houses, but on this day, it had just come to market, and they go, the bank has already agreed on this price. You guys are the first to see it, so you got first dibs.
Oh, man, that was such a luck.
Yes, so, yeah. So we bought that house.
Yeah, for those of you who are not from Arizona, it was a crazy time.
It's a crazy time.
Between 2010 and 2012,
I bet.
It was very wild in buying houses. Yeah.
So, yeah, we got a great situation.
Well, I was 15. I don't know.
Well, back someday.
15, 16, just around. I don't know.
So how old are you? 25?
I'm 28.
28.
So I think I was 15, between 15 and 18. I don't remember that time.
One day, Luis, you'll buy a house here shortly, and you'll say, yeah, back in 2023, I bought a house for $700,000. And people say, wow, that's so cheap.
Yep.
It's like the gas prices, no?
So, yeah, it's wild. So like gas prices now are close to $5. When I was at my peak for my business in 2021, gas was $1.93.
Oh, man, what a great time to be alive.
When
3.5 years ago, dog. It's wild.
Yes, that is one of the challenges of running a business like yours, that you always have to be driving. Your business is all about going place to place, and you have to really be mindful, right, about how do I control my costs and charge my customers a fair price, but still make money.
Yep.
So that's a great question as a business owner. What have you done as you've adapted to like the changing of gas? It's a massive thing for a business like yours.
Right. So, gas is almost tripled. And so I can't just pass that on to the customer. I'm not a capitalist in that fashion. I love to compete, but I don't like competition in terms of servicing in the service of people. Acts of service is a love language. So we're fighting over a love language to help other people. On its face, it doesn't make sense. So I don't do that. So I look at what the market is. I look at what my time means to me. And I look at the opportunity cost in what I'm losing out on not taking other work. And that's where I find the balance. So for big jobs, I can add more of a gas cost because of the load, because of the weight, because of the nature of the job.
And because of the time, too.
Exactly, the time, right. But if it's a close job, if it's just one item, I'm not going to try and extend that gas price onto them. So you just find a balance and go from there.
I was going to say, how much did you charge Peter?
I charged Peter the same on both ends. And it actually cost him less on the back end because we did it faster.
Sounds like how I charge you with the Turo.
Well, the cost of doing it is very expensive to hire help.
Yeah.
And, one of the things in your specific business is that one of the challenges I would imagine you face is that moving one couch, nobody wants to pay $250 for that. And I know because I've done it, and I had a really hard time finding someone to move one couch, and I got lucky. I found someone to move for $120, but
Right.
it was really challenging. So how is, as starting this business, how do you monetize it so that your time is really worth it? Or what are some of the challenges you've worked through when you're like, is it really worth it for me to charge this low amount for this one couch? And
Right.
is it worth my time? Because your time is valuable as a business owner.
It is. So that's where minimums come in. So we have a minimum now that's $100. So, and that's not a reflection of the value of that work, right? So it's like a smaller item that I can handle myself. It's worth my time almost every time to go up to 10 miles and to pick it from a store to them and get it done. Like in terms of an hourly wage, I'm making $100 an hour because I'm getting that done within an hour, right? Minus the cost of gas, minus any of those, small expenses, and then adding the extra labor for additional hands. So that is the dollar amount that I've personally found that works for me and works for many people. And then from that point, based off of the size of the gig, it goes up from there.
How did you come up with this pricing? Because it's one of the challenges we face.
Because I wanted to establish a value for myself. Because I did everything myself.
Did you check other companies around?
Oh, yeah, sure.
You called them and stuff?
And so, as an independent contractor, which all the people who help me are, I am an independent contractor as well for my other competition. Okay. So for the other options, the nationwide options, right? And it's all a la carte, single jobs. I looked at my app this morning. July 10th was the last gig I took from one of those companies. Okay. Because it's not worth my time most of the time. The last gig I took was $400. So it was worth my time and I took it on. So because our industry, the work is so sporadic, it's difficult to find the consistency to be able to land help that wants to be available for the work, right? So if I'm not calling a person every 4 days, they're looking for other work, right? Okay. And so these other companies, I get to see what they pay me because I'm working for them. And then I know what they're charging because the customers complain and they tell me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They complain all the time because.
So I guess that could be a good strategy, right? Because they get to hire you, and then on the low end, you basically give me my business card. I'm like, hey, you just hire me on the side.
Because
smart way to do it too.
And another reason why when I introduce my business, I say we offer fast, friendly, on-demand moving, delivery, staging, TV mounting, and assembly. Right? Mm-hmm. I make sure that they know that that it covers the gamut because I'm there to help them for this third-party company for a delivery. That's not moving. That's not staging. That's not assembly. That's not TV mounting. So I have an additional offering that I can advertise, that I can say, hey, you need this done? I walk in and I see their TV on their stand. You want that on your wall? Here's my card, right? So it's a very easy transition. And
that's more of an upselling type of
exactly.
work,
It's upselling
way,
without conflict of interest because I still want to give my loyalty and respect to Dolly or to GoShare or to Pickup or to any of these third-party services because they're national brands, because I've met most of the people who work for me now through them because they vet them, because they have to get background checks, because they have to pass driving tests, right? They have to be non-felons or whatever. So I make sure that I not only network with my customers, but I network with my crew.
Funny story about that is I don't know if you know the app called TaskRabbit.
Yep.
I took a task a long time ago before my business takeoff.
Just one?
Just one. But it was around this time. You know what's funny is
right?
that I had to build up some type of table that goes in the middle of the living room.
So an assembly job.
An assembly job.
Gotcha.
So I grabbed the drill, and I was supposed to be doing those type of jobs with the drill.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started screwing everything up. And towards the end, I take a look at it, and I'm like, why are the screws coming out? And I told the lady, I was like, I'm sorry about this. And she just started to freak out. She's like, oh my God, what just happened? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know like the drill had so much power that it just penetrated through. And I was like, oh man, I wish I would have hired somebody to do it instead of me that actually knows how to do it. And then I had to call my friend who owns an electrical company. He's like, dude, you got to use a screwdriver when you're doing those type of assembles.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh well.
So that's the differentiation when it comes to gig economy. When you hire these third-party services, they vet them, but it's not consistent. I'm not going to show up every time.
Yeah, look at me. I messed up so much that I'm like, dude, I'm never doing this
But
again.
you were ambitious, but you had all the right things. You had all the right intentions. You just went about it just trying to be efficient, just trying to do the
funny.
job, right?
I told the lady, I was like, oh, you can just send it back to Amazon or wherever you buy it for. And I just, I'll buy it for you.
Yeah. I mean, so there was a 400-pound marble table like this size.
Was it this one? Just kidding.
It was this size, these dimensions, but the top was marble.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so it required 4 people to move. And they lived on the 3rd floor of an apartment complex.
How's it going to fit through the door, I think?
Just your face. Yeah.
Wow.
All of that. So
Daunting.
on the way, so we took it from, the funny story is, shout out to Michael C. You might not see this, but he hired me 5 times.
Oh, man.
I moved him from a 2nd story to a 3rd story apartment, 3rd story apartment to a 2nd story apartment.
Oh, man. So he was just going up and down.
So every time he reached out to me, all I thought about was this table because it's a nightmare. And so we handled it the first time, 2nd time, the 3rd time, the 4th time. Went from a 3rd story, got all the way down to the last stair. The carpet that we had, or the blanket we had down for it, blew from the wind. And one of my helpers lost his handle. Landed right on the corner, which is the sweet spot.
Oh, no.
The most sensitive part on a square is the corner. And so I had to repair that.
So all I see was...
all he heard was the echo from because it's a concrete apartment complex, right? So it just went pop.
Oh, man.
So he hired me again after that, and I had to move that table. And so when I showed up, he was like, honestly, man, I didn't know if you would take my call. And I was like, no, man, it wasn't your fault. Like, going into that job, And so I charged a little bit more because you have a fragile,
so you got to
item.
consider that.
You have to consider that. Yeah. So mistakes. So things like that are built into, you have insurance. You have, liability is part of it. And so we could have wrapped that table up even better. And the last time I moved it, that thing was gift wrapped. You could have thrown that thing off of a building and it probably wouldn't have broke. Like, it was padded to, like, we went, and then I figured out we used the railing of the stairs and we set it up on top of it, put a blanket underneath it, and slid that bitch down. Pardon me if you have to edit that. We just slid it down, and there was a cart waiting for us, put it right on top of it, into the back of my trailer, set it up, strapped it up, gone. Like, because we moved it so many times. So like we were inexperienced dealing with, because you don't move tables like that very often, but you wrap it up, you strap it down, you take your time. It's very simple.
Especially going from apartment to apartment. I'm surprised you didn't break it during those times too.
The gravity made it so much. Gravity. There should be a price point just for gravity. If people have a 2nd or 3rd floor, if you have upstairs, downstairs, just expect it to be more. Just because it's backbreaking. Just because the liability skyrockets.
So when I buy a house, I guess I just buy one.
Single story, bro. Single story.
Always pay for a mover. That's my advice. I told my friends, I said, look, I'm not moving you. I'll give you $50. You hire a mover,
Very good.
and then you buy me pizza and beer afterwards.
Very good.
I will just sit.
Even, yeah, that's perfect.
Hey, Ryan,
I'll help you move.
Yeah,
I'll give you $50 with a couple other friends, $50, and then we'll just eat pizza and beer afterwards, like
Exactly.
you're supposed to.
Yep.
But
That's the thing. Moving sucks every time. I've never come across, especially a repeat customer who was like, you know what? It's so much easier this time. Never.
Yeah.
Not
and
once.
you know what, too? When you get a lot of stuff in your house, and then all of a sudden you start taking them out, you're like, what? Where is all this stuff coming from?
Where is it all coming from? I
How
moved
you
a 92-year-old sweetheart. She lived in that house for 25 years. Never threw anything away. She had
Sounds fun.
She had these what they call break fronts, the like glass, like the cabinets, trio cabinets or whatever, full of glass, crystal, fragile, keepsake, mementos, and like. I saw them and there was like 80 and I was like, okay, and I wrapped them all by hand. Cool. Oh, wait. She gets like an old-timey treasure chest key and opens the bottom on both sides.
Master key.
And there's even more china on the bottom. And I was like, so I individually wrapped about 500 pieces over the course of 4.5 hours. And so her cost was a lot higher. We charge by the hour when it comes to the moves, and we give you an estimate. But based off of this house, it doesn't look like there's anything excessive. There's no knickknacks. There's not a whole bunch of stuff you got to be delicate with. I dedicated 4.5 hours just to wrapping that, and I got carpal tunnel in my wrist as a result.
Just because
I couldn't make a fist when I got home.
Wow.
I was driving home and my hand was like this on the steering wheel.
Can't even move the steering wheel. He's like,
It was so bad, and I had to go back the next day and finish the job because one day was packing.
So it was a 2-day job then.
It was a packing for the first day, 10 hours of packing, 8 hours of moving.
Wow.
20 hours total is what we exceeded, and then they finally told us to stop.
Did you get any extra help with that, or it was just
no.
you?
Oh, well, I have a crew. There's 3 of us.
Okay.
And so after that, we were done, right? And she goes, "Do you unpack?" Serious as a heart attack.
Wow.
And so I said, "No." And my guys said, "Sure." They went back the following day, another 8 hours, plenty of boxes to unpack still.
Wow.
On average, it takes you 6 months to unpack everything from a normal house, 1 to 2 bedroom, because you do it at your own pace. You do it little by little, and because there's no urgency to get your stored things that you don't need, and so stuff stays in boxes. 6 months is the average.
I've been in my house for 10 years. I'm still waiting to unpack a couple things.
He still has a box somewhere in there.
It's so real, yeah.
But yeah,
Oh man, but
it's interesting.
when you were driving all the stuff, was it challenging? Because it was all these crystals going on.
So-
How was that driving though?
So piggybacking off of your drill story, I never drove a trailer before I did this. Real time education. And so I learned with my small trailer, took on the liability I felt comfortable with, and just increased it from there. Over the course of 4 years, I have a 16.5-foot hauler, and it takes care of 90% of my jobs. And I drive that thing like it's my wife's car. Like, I feel very comfortable in that thing now.
Okay.
But funny story, my buddy, I just went to breakfast with him this morning. He drove to Tucson, and he rented a truck, and it was a box truck. He said he was terrified for almost 2 hours because of the wind.
Yeah.
When you're driving a semi or a box truck like that, especially through Tucson on the 10, that wind just howls through there. And so you're going like this. And then when you have 8,000 pounds worth of someone's belongings, once that wind hits it, so sometimes you'll see those trailers that are just, so you got to make sure it's balanced. You got to make sure you stack stuff in an appropriate, there's technique to all of that. And so you can't just throw things in there as they go, because it'll make it weighted on one side, affects your tires, affects the way your tires, the tread. So you don't want to be off balance, wiggling, going something down the highway.
Those are some of the things that people should consider
All of those things.
when they're building up a moving company. Like yourself.
When they're just moving stuff
Okay.
by themselves.
Okay.
Because they would rather, in the terms of rather notonomics, people would rather try to move themselves first. And they often do. But after the second or third move, they always hire a mover.
Yeah, 1,000%.
So it is.
Yeah.
So it's funny. The curve for our business, it's not like one and done. We moved you. We won't see you again for 10 years. We moved that one person, but then they had a breakup or whatever, things happen, life happens, life events, kids, things add to the whatever you need to do. And not to mention, you need to make more room. So a lot of people hold stuff in their garage. Now you have another car, a teenager or whatever. So we do a lot of smaller jobs from a house to a storage unit, making more room. And so those jobs come into play too. And people take on those jobs because they're easier.
For sure.
You say so.
They're easy, yes. Moving is the worst. That's why we hire you. But
All I'm thinking is like, dude, I'm never moving myself again.
But again, the idea,
I will never.
that's my slogan, simple made easy. Yeah. The idea of picking something up from point A, delivering it to point B is very easy to understand. It's a simple concept. But when you add weight, you add gravity, you add traffic, you add kids, you add weather, we can keep going. And then that job turns into a nightmare.
For sure. Well, I've heard you say a couple times, basically you're talking about experience. And you said, I didn't know how to drive a trailer. Now I drive it like it's just a tiny little car. You've got experience. Going back when you're starting this business, or any business owner, that doesn't have experience, what do you think would be good advice, like starting? Like when you sort of when someone worries about like, I don't know what I'm doing.
That's the thing. You said worry. That's the key word. I read a study about last year or so that said 85% of the things that we worry about never happen. 85%. That's more than 4 out of every 5 times. Things don't. That guy looks sketchy. Didn't rob you.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy might hit me. Didn't hit me. You don't know? 85. And then out of the things, the 15%, the stuff that does happen, that you're fearful, that it'll kill you, however you amp up that anxiety, 93% made it through. So only 7% of the things that happen to us are dire. Taking that study on paper, right? So using that mindset, don't be afraid to fail. 85% of the things you're worried about that you're going to fail at because of a lack of experience, because of whatever, your unfamiliarity to the business, to marketing, to all of the things that a business owner has to learn. Whether they do it or not, they have to understand it, right? And so keep pushing forward. 85%. There's a song, Young Bloods, is called 85, and it's got a melodic entry, and I think of that song every time I get frustrated, every time I feel anxious or depressed about a failure or something that went wrong. That table that I dropped, shouldn't have dropped it. 85% of the time, I'm good. And that is the case. And that person hired me again.
Or the sixth time?
So that 93%, you know what I'm saying? So like, just the math makes sense. And so I was a DJ for 20 years because my dad, the proximity to it, right? I was close to it. I love music. It was a natural thing. I wanted to make the party go, and you get popular from it. Oh, and you get attention from it. Oh, and you get paid decent. Oh, and you drink for free. Oh, and it's a great fucking time, right? There's like so many things baked into it that's great. And so, but going into it, every time you plug in and you step up, that crowd is different. And then it might be a kid's party, it might be a wedding, it might be a bachelor party. All those variations, you have to handle them differently. You can't play the same song. You can't play all skeet skeet to a bunch of kindergartners. Like, it's not gonna fly, right? Like, so you got to make sure. So 20 years of doing that created the ability to be flexible, to be malleable, to be able to have a set of skills and then carry them over into something else, to where being anxious, speaking in front of our group every time, I sweat profusely.
You sound pretty good, actually.
I think I sound okay. There's only been a few times where I'm like, I bombed, I messed that up bad. But like the studying, the practicing, and then 85%.
So do it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. You just said being a DJ prepared me to move furniture and hang TVs. And I mean,
it sounds wild.
It does sound wild, but you're right. You're just like, you're creating an experience for people. You're just following a process. What's the process? Play good music, change the music so people do. And it's the same thing with moving, right? You walk in, you see, what do I have? What is this party? Oh, it's a bunch of curios. Well, we have to wrap them up and put them in the box and drop it like it's hot, you know?
Very good.
But that's really cool about it being a business owner, is that you can be a DJ and you can do something that totally is completely off base and be successful, but you take those skills that you learn to move it into something else. And that's something really cool about being a small business owner, right? Is that you have the ability to say, just because I'm a DJ doesn't mean that's my identity, and I could do other things and use those skills.
Yep. So, you know, the thing that's helped me the most with moving? Tetris. I'm an 80s baby.
I played a lot of Tetris.
We played a lot of
Tetris, but when I was a kid. But
me too. That's a transferable skill. When you have an L-shaped couch and it needs to go in a doorway, you need to work that thing. So the spinning and the turning of the blocks to fit. Believe me, man, I talk about Tetris every time I move.
Wow.
Every time I move something.
People that are building up a moving company, they better buy the game Tetris.
Step your Tetris game up if you're in the moving field.
I just watched the movie. The
Tetris movie?
Yes.
Fantastic.
I love the story.
That was a great movie.
But quick question: how do you get most of your customers? Because that's one of the biggest things as a small business owner. When you start, it's like we have no customers.
Yep.
How do you get most of your customers?
In the digital age, word of mouth is still the most effective marketing tool. Straight up. Coming to BNI, establishing the relationship with you all, with our group, and then other groups, understanding that people do the same thing as you, and then figuring out how to work together in a collaborative form. So like Poindexter Moving, they handle more bigger stuff. They are a company, they were established about the same time as me. I think 2019 is when he started his company. And so, but they're a bigger scale than I am. And I had a guy who worked with me and he hurt himself, hurt his back, got a piano moved from Karsten. And so I was like, can't do it, man. My guy just went down. Poindexter's available. They're the people who I always send my jobs that I either can't do because I'm incapable of, or because rather than autonomics. And so I send them that way.
So do they pass you work too? Or is it just?
I mean, if they do, awesome. I haven't had that conversation. I've only exchanged a text message with Anthony Molinax, is the owner of the company, and so he showed up to our meeting a couple of weeks ago, and so I knew when he arrived, and obviously I do something similar, but I do a lot, and I do a lot that other people just don't know about, that supplements what my brand is, right? So I'm not worried about just moving. Because I do staging, I do delivery, I do TV mounting. They don't advertise that, and they don't do that stuff. So my hope is that givers gain, right? I give them the jobs I can't do. They give me the jobs they don't want to do. They don't want to hang a TV, but they have a guy that needs their TV mounted. Hit me up. I'll come and do it. It's small potatoes to them, but it's just the collaborative effort, right? And
so you found a niche within the niche. Like you said, like maybe you're more of a handyman too.
No,
it's not handyman?
Absolutely not. I don't fix stuff.
Sorry, I had a misconception of handyman.
I solve problems. I don't fix stuff.
Solve problems. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So your customers are from networking.
Networking,
right?
absolutely.
So networking, and you say social media, right?
So word of mouth. So like the Facebook, we talk about it. Facebook groups work so well. If you're not on a Facebook group that people are asking questions to get services, you're losing out on a lot of business, because people have no problem saying, I need help here. And then you simply say, I offer help here. Communication, blah, blah, blah. And then word of mouth, digitally, we say, oh, I know Vision Prints. Oh, I know iTrip, right? And so we're simply word of mouthing it through the digital medium. But my customers, one of the people I'm inviting as a visitor, her name's Sherilyn. She owns a salon out on the west side. And she's referred me several times because she talks to people for an extended period of time while she cuts their hair. So she finds out about them. She finds out about their day, about their lifestyle, and about their problems. And so they have no problem saying, my daughter needs her stuff moved, but she's
moving out of college to a different
that exact scenario happened. I helped out a young college student. Her mom hit me up, kind of protective of her daughter for obvious reasons. And then by the end of the transaction, when she needed to move back out for the summer, she texted me and was like, hey, I need you. And that was it. That's all she said. And it went from, the icebreaker, feeling each other out, to I need you. Smiley face, what are we doing? Word of mouth.
That's crazy. That could be your power partner too, because like you said, those type
that's
of
why I want to invite her.
Yep. Too, they need.
Exactly.
They're cutting hair for a long time. They develop a conversation within the customer, and then they found out their needs, and then they're like, oh, I know a guy.
Yeah.
So let's say networking is major for you.
So salon artists, hairstylists, they have one-to-ones with their customers every day. That's what it is. They work in the business.
I spend in the barbershop around an hour and a half.
So. There you go. Yeah, and you have plenty of time.
Look good.
You have plenty of time to say, hey, do you need advertisements? Where are you doing this? Blah blah blah. Catching up with people. They'll tell you their problems. People share their problems all the time because that's part of the alleviation
That's kind of what
process.
I do wherever I go. If I'm gonna spend like an hour and a half, even if it's a mechanic, I'm like, oh yeah, if you need some shirts, I got you. If you need some decals,
it's natural. Yeah. So as a mover, I roll up to their house. I see their lawn. Do you need a lawn guy? I see their roof. There's a bad storm. Are you good? Go to their pool. It's green. You want some help? So I'm able to refer from our group all the time. Our pool guy, he's not around. So I'm losing out on giving him business. I had several opportunities to do so. So it's like, there's so much work. There's always work.
And then that's really an interesting thing you just said. Is like business owners need to help business owners. And I think as business owners, you should always go into your day how can I not only help my own business, but how can I help my friends, my sphere of influence? Because that just expands. That just helps you expand, and it's a really important thing that I don't think that I would have thought of when I'm starting my business. I should help other business owners. You just think I got to make money.
Get mine, yeah.
I got to help me, and you see that a lot of times when people walk into meetings. They're like, "Here's my card." I'm like, let's get a relationship.
When I see people have put your card in this thing,
I
don't care about that lunch that much.
Relationships but being mindful, hey, how can I help my fellow business owners?
Yeah.
And that really is, I think, a really important thing.
Because I see it like you're saying, they're only thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about how can I help.
But that's capitalism.
Right.
That's the nature of the beast.
Right. But what I'm saying is they're just saying, how can I sell? Right? How can I help? That's how I see my business. I always tell Peter, I'm like, if I can help you grow your business, that's a major win for me.
Mm-hmm.
And we're living under capitalism. We have to get paid some way or the other. And I tell Peter, I don't want to get paid.
Yeah.
I just want to help you.
Yeah.
So going back to.
I'd like to get paid, Luis.
Just to be clear.
Of course you're gonna get paid because that's the money, right? You gotta use as a medium of exchange or whatever.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, the way you can grow your business is by helping other business owners, right?
The way you grow your business is by having other people speak well of you when you're not present.
Yeah, it's really profound and just
That's it.
That's more of a brand
as a business
right?
owner.
No,
because you already built a
because
brand.
the opposite can and does happen.
Okay.
You'll set somebody off, and then they'll tell their network, and now you've lost the extension of any of those people for the simple fact that you didn't get along with one person, which is wild, which happened to me personally in this group, and then I wasn't supposed to talk about it, so it was just kind of like. Those are the kind of people I didn't want to do business with, and I had to go through that in order to see it. Now I'm in a group that is growing, and we just had I felt fantastic after our leadership meeting.
Oh, you
I
missed
felt,
out on it.
I felt really good after that. I had a conversation with Nick afterwards. He's like, man, I've been in BNI for 4 years. He goes, I feel the most confident with the group we have right now. That makes me feel fantastic. So going through that nonsense just solidified where I know where I'm at, 85. I'm not worried about 85% of the stuff that happened to me because that 7%, that's the exception.
Yeah. So, you started talking about being an early adopter to technology and to this gig economy, which is still an evolving market, I think. And the sort of old-fashioned word of mouth. What's on your horizon for the future for Buy to Buy, or do you have other aspirations in your business world? A lot of business owners this is what I've heard over the last year. You build a business and then you build businesses around your business.
Yep.
So what's cooking in your brain? You obviously have a hustle and a motor. So what's percolating?
When I started the business, I bought 3 LLCs. I bought the LLC for Buy to Buy. I bought an IP Holdings for LLC, and then I bought a production for Buy to Buy Studios. Haven't touched 2 of them for 3.5 years, but they're on ice. They're ready to go. And so everything I do outside of moving and delivery that I do with podcasting, live streaming, social media wise, A680 Pro. Everything that I do in response to the scooter gig that I just landed, to the Mission Foods route that I'm going to have at the second quarter of next year, all of these on-demand services that I had couldn't have fathomed when I started my business are now the additional parts around the main brand of what Buy to Buy is. So yeah, that's exactly it. Find a niche and then build your network of people who do something similar to you that adds value, your power team, and then extend your own brand by establishing something that builds around it. Yep.
Well, I'm excited for you and your future because you really have a great energy and a great motor in your business.
Sounds just like me, though. I feel like I can connect with you because you're very energetic.
Yeah.
Right? And you always have that going.
And you really are wise, being a business owner, you got to be wise and see a niche, and you feel a need. That's what business is about. And,
you're more of a doer too, right? Because there's a lot of people that talk about these projects, but they never actually take off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like a lot of, the big influencers like Gary Vee, they'll tell you, 100 people will hear the same idea and 99 people won't do a thing with it.
I know.
And one
I've
person
said it many times. I said the hardest thing of starting a business is starting.
Yep.
You can have all the ideas in the world, but you have to do and start, and that's the hardest part, right, Luis?
Yeah.
Especially with this podcast, there's a lot of things we have to figure out before we actually started this podcast.
So that's why when you extended this courtesy to me, dude, the first thing that I thought of, like you said, adding value. So my camera, I didn't even turn it on, but it's right there, ready to get extra things to where I can put on my social media to extend the branch, right? So that way people reach out and go, oh, what's this? So that way they watch your show because I was on it, and vice versa. People check me out because I'm on your show, right?
That's kind of why we want to have small business owners in our podcast, is because we want to help them grow their business.
That's perfect.
Through our social too. Yep. And obviously you get to tag us and then we get to grow our business.
Yeah.
So we got to help each other out on that aspect.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Luis, I've really learned a lot from Ryan. I hope we could have him back in the future because I know he's going to have future businesses. But the things that I really loved that you said was rather not anomics.
Yeah.
Rather not anomics. I mean, if that's not a book, you please make that a book.
The note that I have saved in here is predated for like 2018. Like
Rather-
I've been saying
Obviously,
that for a
I'm
while.
not an English speaker, but what does that mean?
So in terms So do you understand the concept of opportunity cost?
Yes.
So opportunity cost, basically, you can do two things. Whichever one you don't choose is the one you lose on, right? Opportunity cost. So in terms of that, you just want to be able to pursue one thing, but you've got all these other things that you like to do. But if you go those other ways, it's at the cost of this thing, right? So in terms of rather notonomics, would you rather have movers or
Yes.
would you rather sweat? Would you rather rent a truck? Would you rather drive to get the truck? Would you stand in line for the truck? Would you then wait on them to get the truck for you? Get the truck, drive to where you need to get, pick it up, drive back home, unload it, drive the truck back, fill it up before you stop back, and then check it in, and then drive yourself back home.
I'm exhausted just thinking about that.
I was like, Ryan, take my money.
Rather notonomics. People
Yeah.
would rather not do all of those things that's baked into what we do, and it's simple.
It's
Move my stuff, but it's not easy, and that's all the stuff that you overlook.
Yeah, really, as a business owner, when you're thinking of starting a business or you're thinking, how can I grow my business? What would people rather not do? And that's where you
start.
That's where you find your niche, and that's where you have your opportunities. And I love it. And that's going to be my takeaway. Rather notonomics. You know, Luis, what are you going to take away from this?
I take away everything. I like how you were like a tech savvy, or not a tech savvy, but you were into technology at first, because I was into technology right away. My dad, since I was 5.
Yeah.
So I would say like people now in age, they need to learn. That's my takeaway. That being in technology is the main key to grow your business.
Absolutely.
For the future, right? Because I see kids making 10, 20 million on just social. So I would say being first in economics, or I'm sorry, in technology, it's a great takeaway.
Yeah.
But,
And you see that importance because of the scale.
Yeah.
We see the importance because we had AOL. We know how long it used to take to simply find what you needed. And now it happens in an instant. So that's the technology. I can never talk bad about it. Obviously, there are improper ways to use it and toxic ways to use it. But my dad is designing an app. He's 63. Huh?
So there's always opportunity out there.
Always. And like you said, the pain points. Inconvenience is the birthplace of opportunity. Every time someone doesn't want to do
you're never too old
something.
to start a business.
No. You're never too old to serve someone who would rather not do the thing that you have no problem doing.
All right, Ryan, so let's wrap this up. What are your socials? Where can people find you? Because your stories are very intriguing, and we want people to connect more with you.
Absolutely. So we are at Buy to Buy, at BUYTOBYE, everywhere you are. I have a podcast called the Sober Swole Podcast with my Marine buddy. He's 7 years sober, and we talk about his addiction, his struggle, his journey, his triggers, and the mental health aspect of recovering. So we do that. That's at Sober Swole on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. I think it's on X. I'm not on X anymore. Twitter. So
I'm always on X. I always
yeah.
read something.
No, you get up to the minute.
I'm in every social media.
Yeah. I was, and I was like, okay, I'm good on. I don't get a lot of return on X, so that's why I got off it. But yeah, so at Buy to Buy, at Buy to Buy Studios is where you can find the podcast and all of the stuff we do. Hopefully, I can network with you and I can help you with this, because I love the energy and the momentum you guys have going into this now, because you might be afraid to start, but you are going about it the right way. You are going about it with the proper accessories and equipment that you need to be successful.
And thanks to Peter for this house too.
No kidding. Yeah, the Airbnb, the iTrip hookup.
But we want to thank you so much for having your time, because as a small business owner, time matters to us.
Everything.
And we love to have you on the show. Hopefully we can have you again, like Peter said. So thanks, guys, for watching. Please follow us so we can follow with more episodes. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, guys.